Russia's COVID vaccine has taken the entire world by storm, causing many to ask this fundamental question. Can Russia's Sputnik V vaccine be the most effective in the world? Hello and welcome to yet another exciting video on our channel. In today's video, we will reveal all the hidden details about Sputnik and why many analysts believe that this vaccine par excellence may even outperform vaccines made by Western developers. 2020 will live long in history as the year the COVID virus wreaked tremendous havoc on the entire world, leading to the death of millions and the destruction of the world economy. The moment the virus became a pandemic, many national governments commissioned and funded major efforts to develop a vaccine for the virus. Leading the way was Operation Warp Speed, commissioned by former President Donald Trump of the US. Many Western developers got to work, and for months the media was awash with progress reports of vaccines by Pfizer and AstraZeneca progressing from one stage to the next. Eventually, these vaccines were commissioned and widely distributed across the world to vaccinate entire populations against COVID. Many had looked to the West for solutions, and they did get the solution they sought. However, the COVID virus metamorphosed into different strains. These strains exposed certain weaknesses in already existing vaccines, causing manufacturers to modify their vaccines even further to make them more potent. But little did we know that a better vaccine was on the horizon. This time, not one from the West, but from the East. From Russia. When Russian President Vladimir Putin announced several months ago that his country was on the verge of unveiling a vaccine for COVID, he was mocked by a greater section of Western media. But little did they know that the Russians had a vaccine that may potentially rival all other vaccines. Now, recent reports confirm that the Sputnik V has been approved for use by several countries. Even better is the news that Sputnik is under review by the European Medicines Agency. If the agency approves it, Sputnik will gain even more legitimacy. But not everyone is welcoming the news with joy because it remains controversial. But why? Russia's Putin and Russian media have touted Sputnik as the best vaccine in the world. While this should be a welcome relief by the COVID-ravaged world, many do not believe the Russians and have labelled Sputnik as Russian propaganda. Propaganda or not, the question we must ask ourselves is whether Sputnik is safe. Sputnik, or Sputnik V, like it is popularly called, is a vaccine developed by Gamaleya Research Institute of Epidemiology and Microbiology in Moscow. The research institute is state-funded by the Russian Direct Investment Fund, the RDIF. The GAM COVID vector vaccine is similar to that of Johnson & Johnson and AstraZeneca. Sputnik is a vector vaccine, and vector vaccines are much easier to manage compared to mRNA vaccines that require low-temperature storage in order not to go bad. In this type of vaccine, harmless viruses as well as inactive cold viruses release the genetic code for spike proteins. The SARS-CoV pathogen then uses the proteins to attach itself to cells in the human body. When this happens, the cells in the body system of a person who has received the vector vaccine rates the foreign substance as an alien invasion, so it reacts to it by releasing antibodies and special T cells, which create immunity. What makes Sputnik a unique type of vector vaccine, and why is it creating so much controversy? Well, the answer is simple. Sputnik is unusual because it uses two different cold adenovirus or cold virus for the first and second shots. These viruses are the RAD26 virus, which Johnson & Johnson vaccine uses, and the RAD5 virus, respectively. The combination of both is modified in such a way as to prevent the second virus shot from neutralizing the effect of the first shot and to prevent a booster effect. This unusual approach is what has caused controversy in the medical science community. Is Sputnik V effective? The quick and easy answer to the question should be sharp yes, since many countries have already approved it, but no one can say for now how effective it will be. Medical experts claim that Sputnik is supposed to use two different vectors to improve efficacy, unlike those of AstraZeneca and Johnson & Johnson that use only one vector, which is much lower. AstraZeneca and Johnson & Johnson vaccines have an efficacy of 76% and 85.4% efficacy, which are lower than the BioNTech Pfizer vaccine, which is 95% efficacious, and Moderna's 94.1% efficacy. So if what Russian media is saying about the vaccine is true, then that means Sputnik will post a higher efficacy rate of above 95%. making it more potent than Pfizer. The argument put forward by critics is that it is hard to determine Sputnik's efficacy for now because it was only approved by the Russian government last August, long before safety review protocols were completed. They further argue that 8 months after the vaccine's approval, no reliable data has been published by Russia on the vaccine. To date, the government has not made primary data available to any independent drug testing authority for fact checks. Contrary to claims by some in the media, there are some records showing partial results of Sputnik. In September of 2020, a medical journal called Lancet published partial results of Phase 1 and 2 clinical trials of Sputnik. The studies showed that the vaccine had high degrees of tolerability, immunogenicity, and safety, but the study only included data taken from 38 participants. The results also showed a very strong immune response against the COVID virus, with no serious side effects detected. Despite the positive results, experts still have strong reservations about it because critics claim that the vaccine only tested trial groups. Some of the oddities pointed out by Sputnik's critics are as follows. 1. Some critics claim that even though the trial participants were given the vaccine in different forms, the study showed that all of them had the same level of oddities in their bloodstream on different days when they were undergoing the tests. Critics claim that the similarities of antibodies in their bloodstream could not be coincidental. They also argue that the participants had the same identical T cells levels, which is known to fight the SARS-2 virus. This led about 40 scientists from Europe, Canada, the US, and even Russia to sign an open letter raising concerns that the data may have been manipulated. 2. On February 2nd, the Research Institute published further interim results for the Phase 3 trials in the British medical journal The Lancet. The data captured the results of 18,000 participants who had received 2 doses of Sputnik within 3 weeks interval with no side effects recorded. The results also show an efficacy of 91.6%. Despite this data, many researchers raised concerns about the practices of the Russian Institute with a counter-argument that the Russians have refused an independent evaluation of their study. If Sputnik has an efficacy rate of 91.6%, that places it in 3rd place behind Pfizer's 95% efficacy and Moderna's 94.1% efficacy. Why then do the Russians claim that Sputnik is the most effective COVID vaccine in the world? Perhaps the reason for this claim is because new data released on the 3rd of April shows that Sputnik is effective against several new variants of the virus, including the UK B117 strain and the South African B1351 strain. Although a peer review process is underway to confirm the veracity of these claims, this study threw critics of Sputnik off balance. New strains of COVID, especially the UK and Indian strains, are known to be highly contagious. If Sputnik is as effective against them as the study suggests, that places the vector vaccine above Pfizer, Moderna, Johnson & Johnson, and any other COVID vaccine in the world. The criticisms against Sputnik by researchers may be one of two things. It may either be born out of real concern for public safety or simply frustration by Western researchers waking up to the realization that Russian scientists have developed a vaccine that is far more potent than theirs. That dozens of countries have already approved the vaccine and the European Medicines Agency is reviewing the data might be an indication that Vladimir Putin wasn't making a blanket statement about Sputnik being the best COVID vaccine in the world after all. Some of the countries where Sputnik has been approved for use include Mexico, India, Iran, Ghana, Serbia, Palestine, Bosnia, and more than 50 other countries. It is already being used to vaccinate people in Hungary, with more than 200,000 yet to be approved doses delivered to Slovakia. Based on latest data, about 8.8 million people have received at least one shot of the vaccine, with many more to follow. If big countries like Brazil have ordered 76 million doses of Sputnik along with other countries, that alone goes to show that the Russian vaccine is not as bad as critics claim. Unless there is contrary data to show that Sputnik is ineffective, the Western media may have a hard time convincing the rest of the world that Sputnik is not the holy grail of COVID vaccines. Let us know what you think by leaving a comment below. Don't forget to subscribe, and thanks for watching.